Your Imperial Highness, Japan is attacking us, and it seems like their ships are bigger than our ships. How about we chill for a bit and resolve this by talking? Honey, Japan is attacking us. What are we gonna do? Father, Japan is attacking us. What are we gonna do? Let's go to war. Let's go to war. Let's go to war. Today, we'll tell you about the Russian Revolution. In 1861, in Russia, there were a lot of peasants, because almost all Russian people were peasants, except non-peasants. Those were not peasants. The peasants were governed by a serfdom system, in which the nobles owned the land and allowed the peasants to live there. In exchange, the peasants were required to serve the nobles, work the land, provide them with crops, or pay rent, or all of the above, at the same time. And if they didn't like this, they also had the option of burning it anyway, because peasants were property of the nobles, and the law required them to stay in that place forever, and be peasants forever. People were pretty fed up, so they started demanding reforms aggressively. Around that time, Alexander II had become the Tsar, and he wanted to improve Russia's economy by changing some laws. But don't get me wrong, he was still an autocrat. So Alexander II made some cool reforms to eliminate serfdom in Russia, and the people accepted. Please sign here and here. And here. And here. Congratulations. Now you're free, but you have to pay rent for the next 30 years, even if you don't have a penny to your name. Bye! Now, their situation was even worse. Luckily, years before, when Russia was fighting against France in the Napoleonic Wars, a lot of their soldiers learned about something called rights. But how are you supposed to eat this? With a little bit of revolution. That's why some of them felt a little revolutionized, and also like drinking 8 glasses of water a day. The revolutionaries tried to kill the Tsar 5 times, but they failed 5 times. And due to the chaotic nature of the situation, a new ultra-secret police was created to protect him, called the Okhrana. So, one Sunday, he went around some errands, and since he knew they were trying to kill him, he took the usual route in his regular carriage. At the same time, as always, what are the chances that an assassination attempt will actually occur? But they failed. And instead of running away, Alexander... and he died. Now, Alexander III was the new Tsar. He became even more autocratic. Perfect solution, of course. So the revolutionaries had no other option than try to kill him as well. But they failed. You had one job you had. Hello, fellow revolutionaries. As your loving revolution comrades, we would like to know if you planned the attack earlier. Maybe? Get him, guys. Among these revolutionaries was Alexander Ulyanov. And when Alexander was executed, his little brother was deeply affected by it. His name was Vladimir Ulyanov, also known as Lenin. But he was just a kid. So remember, son, the authority of the Tsar is supreme, and one day you will be the Tsar. So don't mess it up, you damn idiot. What? So keep impressing us, you darn genius. See this guy here? Well, this is not Nicholas II. He is George V. But this is Nicholas II. He was the savage. And one day, he went on a tour around the world, meaning Japan, where he got a tattoo. But suddenly, a wild sword guy appeared and tried to kill him, but he couldn't. Hey there, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. It would mean a lot to us. And if you'd like to support our work even further, join us on our Patreon, where you'll get exclusive updates, monthly wallpapers, calendars, and more. You can find the link to our Patreon in the comment below. Then, Nicky returned to Russia so his dad could teach him everything about being a Tsar. But he died. Oh my god. What am I going to do? I am just a damn idiot. So now, Russia had a very handsome Tsar, a very incompetent one. Also, he was madly in love with a girl named Alex, who was a German princess. So they got married and lived happily ever after. Meanwhile, in the rest of non-privileged Russia, there were poor harvests and harsh winters. And we all know what that means. That's why many peasants went to work in some new factories, which happened thanks to something called the Industrial Revolution. These workers were called the proletariat, but they were always exploited with very long working hours and low pay, so they were not having fun. Hello, I am also not having fun. Lenin, who was very fond of revolutions, had become a lawyer and discovered the books of a certain Karl Marx, who was very popular, and if you didn't read Karl Marx, you weren't trendy. And he liked them so much that he started a Marx fandom. And he believed that Russia should be socialist, that workers should govern, that there shouldn't be social classes, and that things should be equally shared with everyone. That's why he went out to protest with his squad of Marxist friends, in order to free Mother Russia from capitalism. But Team Tsar stopped him and exiled him to Siberia. While he was there, he wrote a book about what is to be done. Lenin returned from Siberia, and he joined a new party called the Russian Social Democratic Labour Party. It's time to do something very revolutionary. A newspaper. I'll create a newspaper. So he created a revolutionary newspaper to help spread his revolutionary ideas all over Russia. But he did it from Germany, because he had to escape from the Tsar again. In the meantime, the members of the Result Party could not agree on which socialist trend was the best, so they split into two mini-parties. The Mensheviks, who wanted to proceed peacefully, and the Bolsheviks, who wanted to proceed aggressively. The Bolsheviks aimed to establish a dictatorship, and in the process, get rid of the Tsar. So Martov became the leader of the Mensheviks, and Lenin the leader of the Bolsheviks. It's the anniversary of the Romanov Dynasty. To celebrate, maybe we could do something meaningful for our community. No, let's do a costume party, until we can't party no more. So they held the costume ball of 1903. And this pissed the peasants off, cause that party looked obscenely expensive, while they were starving to death. But all good, because Alex and Nicky were busy doing their own thing, trying to have a boy, so he could be the heir of the throne. And bam, they had a girl. And bam, and another girl. And another one. Until they finally had a boy, named Alexei. He was the new Russian Tsarevich, and all was fine in this little Russian corner. Then, everything changed when the Empire of Japan attacked. Yes, now is my time. I will win real quick. I will show them who is the man, and they will stop thinking about idiotic revolutions. But Japan's navy was bigger, so they lost the Russo-Japanese War. And when things couldn't get any worse, Nicholas said, "Hold my vodka." Then, one Sunday of 1905, a priest called for a peaceful protest, asking the Tsar to stop being a total douchebag, and to maybe consider implementing reforms that would benefit peasants. And as they approached the Winter Palace, they were greeted with welcome shots. A lot of people were killed, including children holding harmless banners. This is known as the Red Sunday. That's when people lost it. So, to try to calm them down, Nicholas signed the October Manifesto, which would improve things a bit. but not so much, because now the people were done with the monarchy and wanted to take part in the government. That's why the Tsar created the Duma, which was an assembly meant to make things more democratic. And Lenin was able to return from his exile. But then, Nikki got bored of this so-called democracy and dissolved the Duma, and Lenin had to go back into exile. This was called the failed revolution of 1905, not to be confused with the revolution. Alexei was born with a very rare condition called hemophilia, which prevents the blood from clotting, meaning that if Alexei had a minor cut, he could potentially bleed uncontrollably to death. So one day, while he was playing, he got injured, and the doctors didn't know how to fix him. We could use a mystical monk. Rasputin was a mystical monk who had been traveling extensively across Russia and engaging in questionable activities. He also had the gift of healing, and every time Alexei bled, Rasputin would make it stop. As a result, he held great influence over Alex, and therefore over Nikki, and therefore over the Russian Empire. A second Duma was created, but the Tsar discovered some shady members doing some shady stuff, so he dissolved it. Then, a third Duma was created, once again, and it lasted a bit longer because it had more nobles, which Nikki liked, but he terminated it anyway. This was the fourth Duma, but the Tsar kept refusing to approve any reform. On a different note, Bolsheviks and Mensheviks were still not on the same page, so there was a lot of drama in the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party, until one day, the Bolsheviks decided to have their own party, and they called it the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party, Bolshevik. 1914 came, and so did the First World War. And we will not explain what happened in this video, but we will tell you everything about it in another video, and we will link it in the description. So Russia quickly joined the war and deployed 15 million soldiers, and they were doing pretty well until they weren't anymore. So Alex told Nicholas, "Nikki, honey, I know you constantly make a ton of mistakes, and your entire reign has been awful, and you have like zero battling experience. But Rasputin and I believe it would be a brilliant idea if you personally take the lead in commanding the Russian troops." Whoa. But how could you come up with such a terrible idea? Fine, I'll do it. The Tsar followed all the bad advice Rasputin gave him. That's why everyone disliked him and wanted to get rid of him. "Monk Rasputin, I would like to invite you to a lovely evening at my house at midnight. Come along." "Who is this?" "Don't worry, I'll send a car to come catch you." "Prince Yusupov?" "Yep. Ken, I'll be busy. My astonishing beautiful wife will be there too." Okay, Rasputin accepted the invitation, though the entire situation screamed assassination plot. So Rasputin arrived at the gathering, and his cup was filled with a deadly offering. The great man drank and drank, but the poison had no effect. It sank. They also offered him cyanide-laced treats, but the mad monk remained on his feet. Then, Yusupov fired a shot, even when that was not part of the plot. His friends finished him off. With violent blows, they were not soft. His executioners thought their task complete, and to the Neva River, his body threw at full speed. But the lover of Russia had only blacked out. Thus, in the end, he perished, drowned with no doubt. By 1916, half of their soldiers had died in the war, and on top of that, famine and shortages were getting out of hand. So, a revolt broke out in February 1917. While the Tsar was failing miserably in the battlefield, the workers called for a strike and took the streets, heading towards this bridge to reach the Winter Palace and protest, but the cops were able to pacify them. The next day, some women decided to protest, but to prevent them from reaching the palace, the cops lifted the bridge. However, they didn't anticipate that Russian women could walk on the water because it was frozen. Later on, more people joined and looted the police stations looking for weapons. The Tsar sent in soldiers to handle the situation, but plot twist. The soldiers were sick of the war and the situation too, so they joined the movement. And this is the Russian Revolution of 1917, Part 1, aka the February Revolution. The Tsar received an urgent telegram saying, "Please, stop, get some help. If I don't see it, it doesn't exist." Nicky kept ignoring his advisor's advice, and things quickly escalated into more violence, until Nicky finally realized that the revolution was no joke. So he took a train to Petrograd to get things under control. But a group of workers said, "No sir, you're not going to any Petrograd." And they took control of the train stations and blocked the rails. When suddenly, another wild telegram arrived, asking him to abdicate, and Nicholas had no choice but to abdicate on March 15, 1917, which was March 2 for the Russians, and the Duma proclaimed itself as the authority. Not so fast, because a group of soldiers and workers wanted to have the power too, so they created another assembly, led by Leon Trotsky, and called it Soviet. That's why the leadership was kind of sketchy. I feel like we should be capitalist. I feel like we should totally be socialist. And what do you feel? Then they formed a provisional government and appointed Alexander Kerensky as the president. So things were kind of going well, because there were more rights for people, and most importantly, there was no Tsar anymore, because he got arrested with his family in a tiny house in Siberia. Still, the government was messy and weak. Perfect moment for Lenin to show up. Perfect moment for Lenin to show up. Lenin was stuck in exile, and though he really wanted to come back to Russia, he couldn't. Since Germany wanted Russia to exit the war, and Lenin wanted Russia to exit the war, the Germans put Lenin on a train and shipped him off to Russia, so he could seize control. When Lenin made it to Russia, he gave a speech. Russia should exit the war. The provisional government is pathetic. The power should be in the hands of the Soviet. Those ideas didn't resonate with anyone, but since the provisional government wanted to stay involved in the war, Lenin's ideas didn't seem so crazy after all, so they started striking even harder. This was called the April Days. And in response to the rejection of the war, Kerensky launched another attack on the front, and called it Kerensky's Offensive, in an effort to create a sense of national unity in the heart of Russia. But they failed miserably. That's why the soldiers quiet quit, and now people were demanding that power be handed over to the Soviet. But the Bolsheviks said, "Shh, not yet, too soon for a coup." Then when? Shh, not yet. And this is known as the July Days. All this led to the provisional government persecuting Bolsheviks. They imprisoned Trotsky, and Lenin fled to Finland incognito. The army had a new general called Kornilov, and he didn't like the new Russian order, so he started plotting a coup. "Hey guys, I am aware I have been a total jerk to you lately. I locked one of your leaders away, while the other one had to run away to Finland, but I am wondering if you could stop this coup for me, please?" So the Bolsheviks helped stop Kornilov's coup, which was pretty easy, because Kornilov's soldiers and the other soldiers were actually bodies in real life. As a result, the Bolsheviks and the Soviet gained traction and grew on people's hearts. So, in October 1917, Lenin and Trotsky began plotting something. And in October 24th, around midnight, a group of soldiers quietly headed to Petrograd and took all the strategic control points, including the Winter Palace, where the provisional government usually met. They took the power away from them and handed it to the Soviet. This is the actual Russian Revolution. Part 2, aka the October Revolution. The first thing the Bolsheviks did was change their names, and their new name was Communists. A new government was also established, named the Council of People's Commissars, and Lenin was the president. And the Brest-Litovsk Treaty was signed by Lenin and Germany, so Russia could exit the war. When everything was running smoothly, of course, a Russian civil war started between the Red Army of Lenin's government against the White Army, which was formed by anti-communist people that wanted things like freeing the ex-Tsar so he could be Tsar again, for example. But Lenin was in no mood for dealing with that. So he moved the Tsar and his family to a different house, called the House of the Special Purpose. Then, in the middle of the night, they were taken to the basement and instructed to wait. Nicholas, as your relatives continue to attack Soviet Russia, the Soviet has decided to execute you and your entire family. Wait, what? And they were all executed. Just like that, the Romanov dynasty ended. Then, the Red Army beat the White Army. So now the communists held full power. And after a lot of paperwork and extensive discussions, the Soviet Union was created, the nation Lenin had dreamed of. And the Russian Empire collapsed. Then Lenin died. But the rise of the Soviet Union began. Now, they wanted to show the entire world that they were the new superpower.